It's the Brad and John Show.
The Brad and John Show. This is the C Block, the Charlie Block, which started right around 7:40. And man, we are on time this morning at 7:46.
Yeah, we did a great job. Good thing we got that new GPS system.
Yeah, it's working great. Okay, my Saturday. 2 weeks ago Saturday, my zero-turn lawnmower caught on fire, and I had some minor burns, nothing to speak of. But for the most part, my zero-turn was destroyed, and it sat out in the field down at the crap transmitter site. And so Saturday, I got an early start, drove the truck out there, and took my flatbed trailer to rescue my zero-turn, to bring it back to the office, possibly fix it, maybe put a new engine in it, try to clean out some of the fire damage. I thought it would be, I'll be done by, 11, noon. It took me almost 5 hours to get the zero-turn on my tilt bed trailer because of the fact that the part of the fire destroyed part of the wheel motors, which doesn't mean anything to anybody. And I could barely move the thing. So I get it on there, and I'm going like, okay. I strap it down. I drive back, and on the way on eastbound 44, as I'm coming up Antire Hill, I blow a tire on my trailer.
Oh, no.
and when I say I blow a tire, you know how you see those shreds of rubber all over the highway?
Yeah, that was you.
That was me. So I think to myself, because there's that stretch of 44. Once you get east of Eureka, you're like in no man's land. There's nothing. It's just trees. There's one exit. There's Antire exit. There's no gas stations. There's nothing. There really isn't any place to really pull over, get off the highway and exit 6 for Antire. And the problem is if you get off an Antire, there's not much up there, and there's not really any space to sit a car or truck on a trailer. So I drove all the way down 44 on the shoulder, and it got to the point where the tire slowly shredded, and I was on the rim, and I got down to the White Castle. Okay, I won't tell you the rest of the story from that because it just took. Long story made short, I leave at 6 o'clock in the morning. I get home at 7 o'clock at night. So 13 hours later, I get my burnt-up lawnmower back. So that's part of my day on Saturday. Okay, no fun. And then yesterday, I'm an old guy, John. God, was I in bad shape yesterday. I hurt like you wouldn't believe because I pulled and tugged and pushed and stuff like that, and to the point where I use muscles I haven't used in a while. And, being the old man I am, when you're 90 years.
Yeah, and tendons.
When you're 90 years, I don't even think.
I was just going to say.
I don't think I have tendons anymore. I think they're gone. When you get 90.
I was going to ask, Brad, so if I could ask you a personal question. Your son lives in St. Louis. Yeah. Why couldn't he come out and help you? Like, what was he doing on Saturday morning that was so important that he couldn't come out and help you?
My son, I don't think he'd mind me saying this. My son has an illness which really, this is so sad. My youngest son, he's 31, 32 now. In his prime, he was an incredible athlete. He walked on to the soccer team, never having played soccer in his life, and was a darn good soccer player. He also ran cross country.
And then what happened? Let's get to it.
He has this crazy autoimmune disease where sometimes he can't even walk anymore.
Okay, well, that explains it then. If he was able-bodied, I would wonder why he couldn't come out and help us old man get a lawnmower up in a truck.
He's to the point where there are days where he really has a tough time moving around. And God, it's one of those things. I've said this before. If the man upstairs would listen to me, and I would say, give him my abilities, I'll take his disease.
I get what you're saying.
Swap it with me, okay? But that's not going to happen. So I did it myself. So my other two sons don't live, or my other son lives in Pensacola, and the other one lives in Boston. So anyway, did it all by myself. So that's the crazy thing. Okay, now, tomorrow, in my top 3, the reason I didn't do it today is because I really need to pull some audio to reinforce what I'm going to say. The lady, I can't remember her first name. Her last name is Maher, just like Bill Maher, whatever, how you pronounce it. She's the head lady at NPR, okay? And she was a guest on Colbert's show last week. It was either Thursday night or Friday night. And she did like a 9 or 10 minute segment on Colbert's show. I listened to that over the weekend. and I wanted to stick my finger down my throat and throw up because of the fact that she is such a propagandist. It is unbelievable. And the deal with the Colbert show, he just, what's the term? What is the term? You're into this kind of psychological kind of stuff. Enabling.
He pedestalizes her.
Well, no, he was enabling.
Oh, he enables her.
Okay.
Interesting.
So obviously, and this is not spontaneous, because he starts talking about, well, look at all the good things that NPR stations do around the country. So he starts reading off all these shows that are like NPR on NPR affiliates. And the crazy thing about it is every last one of these shows he talks about that is on an NPR affiliate is in every small market radio station around. You lose your pet. Matter of fact, on KLPW, they used to have the Pet Patrol. And if you lost your pet, you would call the radio station. You'd say, hey, my dog Trixie, which is a mix between a Labrador Retriever and a poodle with a, one ear that got chopped off, is lost. And they would go, okay, what's your phone number? My phone number is blah, 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 blah. Okay, they're giving all these examples of shows that are on NPR affiliates. And if those affiliates are gone, we won't have those programs anymore. And the problem with that is it's BS, because the commercial broadcasters, especially in the small markets, because that's what she was pushing. And she was pushing, here she goes again with the news desert. The news desert, okay? Now, John, and I'm not trying, because I know you're good friends with Jason Rosenbaum, but if St. Louis Public Radio, and you're the guy that watches news all the time, if St. Louis Public Radio and their website tomorrow ceased to exist, if somebody just flipped a switch and the radio station went off the air and the website went dead, would you be in a news desert? Would you not have anything to talk about on John's Top 3?
No, there would certainly still be a ton of news in Missouri. I think it would be a loss to lose a Jason Rosenbaum, but I think we wouldn't be in a news desert, Brad. You're right.
Right. And the other interesting part of this is that, especially if you know people in small towns, what's happened is the news is now, and John's going to choke when I say this, the news is now primarily Facebook. Because what you have now is you have citizen journalists. You have them right here in St. Louis. They're all over the place. What's the guy that you talk about all the time? I can never remember names. The guy who's doing the website, who's doing all sorts of great undercover, or not as necessarily undercover.
It's an account called Jason Rivera.
Right, Jason Rivera. This guy works for nobody, right? He's essentially on his own, correct? Isn't that the deal?
Yeah, as far as I know, sure.
And for what we know, he doesn't get paid. Maybe he gets some sponsorships on his website from time to time, but for the most part, he doesn't get paid, right? And
yeah, you're right. And your point, and let's also, you mentioned in B Block, Elliott Davis, great example.
Exactly. So it's to the point where I think this is and once again, I have 2 worthless journalism degrees. This is the snobbiness of NPR and its ilk. The idea, well, if it wasn't for us, there'd be a news desert. And the crazy part of it is they talk about the fact, and you're probably correct me when I say this, they talked about the fact that, hey, who else is going to go cover the school board meetings? John, how many school board meetings are covered by St. Louis Public Radio?
I think St. Louis City ones, if there's something controversial, they'll be there. Other than that, they're not.
Okay, when's the last time you saw a St. Louis Public Radio news story about the Francis Howell, the Fort Zumwalt School District, unless it had something to do with transgender kids or books in the library? When's the last time?
Almost never, Brad.
Right.
Almost never.
So to the point where, and the interesting part of it is that, and John, agree or disagree with me, do you think that St. Louis Public Radio does many news stories on the collar counties? How many times do you see a St. Louis Public Radio story on Jefferson County or Franklin County or St. Charles County?
It's one of your favorite points, Brad, because nobody lives out here, and when I say out here, I would mean St. Charles County, Jefferson County, Franklin County. Nobody would come out here. Everybody would cover stuff in the St. Louis area. You made that point many times.
Right.
I agree.
So the point being is, and then essentially, and then one of the questions was, and one of the very first things she said was, and I got to pull this audio because when I play this, I played it again last night. I should have chopped it up and used it today, but something came up and I didn't do it. But anyway, I thought to myself, God, this gal is full of it. And then she says, and he's asked her, well, how many NPR stations are there? And she goes, I don't know, 294. And she says, because of the government funding cut, 70 of them will leave the air. And I'm going like, okay, I don't believe that. I don't believe that because of the fact that, well, the interesting part of it is one of your stories in your top 3 was KBIA and KOPN. See, I don't know why, but KOPN, I always think of that. I always think, and it's not spelled that way, but I always think of K-porn.
Oh, wow, Brad. Okay.
Okay.
Well, for people that are hipsters, maybe it's their version of that.
Okay. So that is my one point. The other point was, once again, I listen to NPR over the week. I listen to St. Louis Public Radio on the weekends. And this is the crazy thing. Listen to the end of the show. These shows that are hour long, they're only on once a week.
And then what do they say at the end of the show, Brad? What do they list?
They list the staff members. Now
all the production assistants, which is, let me interrupt, it is a classy move for them to actually acknowledge the people that put the show together. But Brad, your point is what about the length of that list?
Well, first off, this was interesting because I'd never heard this version before. Before they give the people on the staff, they gave a disclaimer, which I've never heard before, which sounded like some attorney ground this out, where their show could not be used to be indexed by the artificial intelligence sources.
Ooh, that's nice. So they're telling Zuckerberg, don't you dare touch this for your meta AI.
Exactly. So the interesting thing is then they give the staff members, and they are proud union members, and they say these are proud union members of NABIT, which is the National Association of Broadcast Engineers and Technicians. We don't have them here in St. Louis. In St. Louis, it's IBW Local 4. There must have been 20 people they listed as union people. Look, don't jump on me for being union bashing, but what they're turning out with a staff of 20, the commercial radio stations are turning out with a staff of 3, maybe 4, sometimes even 2, sometimes even 1. And I was like, why does it take 20 union people to put together a 1-hour radio show?
It doesn't even take 3 people to do a Brad Hildebrand man on the street interview where you go down to St. Charles and you ask people about the BJ show. Or you give a prompt that says, have a white man ask a fake black woman a question and have her praise John and insult Brad. That doesn't even take 3 employees, Brad.
No, hold on. You like the one I did with the woman down on Main Street in St. Charles.
I did watch that one. That was hilarious, Brad. I thought it was really funny. I sent it to some friends and I said, can you believe this is what AI does? And then I included a clip where Brad said, I'm taking a course, and boy, I haven't even scratched the surface.
I haven't. I mean, this is amazing. I'm telling you. Now, John, I know we're trying to get on time here. On a scale of 1 to 10, how real is that lady?
10.
I've said the same thing.
No sarcasm, Brad. And if I didn't know they were AI, if you had sent that to me a year ago, I would say, holy cow. Like, did you hire? And then I'd be like, no, Brad doesn't spend any money out of pocket for marketing and promotion of our station. But then it looked so real that I would have believed it's real.
Is that incredible or what?
It's pretty amazing, Brad.
And this is the course I took. And I'm telling you, it's all about the prompts. It's all about the prompts. And man, I am learning this. I could tell you something else about this, that the prompting on this one thing the course I took, I'm still taking this course over the weekend. It's like programming a nuclear missile. I mean, this is not like, okay, have a guy put a microphone in front of a face of another person asking this question. This is to the point where you have to go through AI to do the prompts. It's super complicated.
Wow.
Okay, we're going to get out of here. John, say goodbye.
See you tomorrow, Brad.
I'll chop up the NPR lady and we'll have a good laugh tomorrow. Okay?